Last month, I rediscovered the game Flower, made by Thatgamecompany. Immediately, I was transported back to where I was and how I felt the first time I ever played it. It was back in 2013, when the Phoenix Art Museum opened an exhibit on video games as a form of art. On one wall, they had a large screen devoted to the game Flower, and invited people to pick up a PS3 controller and play the first level. It was unlike anything I'd ever controlled before. Immediately, I felt calm and serene as I poorly attempted to pick up flower petals as I rolled over green grassy hills. But it was only a 3-minute long demo, and I walked away thoroughly enjoying myself, but missing so much and also failing to see what the larger purpose of the game was. But those couple of minutes still left a major impact in my mind as to what forms of communication can be conveyed through the media of video games. I've played through Flower a handful of times now, and every time there's a little something more I grow to appreciate. This game is a tale of emotion and beauty. It accomplishes its task brilliantly, despite the fact that you control the wind, and there are no human or animal characters, and not a single line of dialogue is read or spoken. The entire game can also be completed in under an hour, but Flower is still a masterpiece in how it accomplishes its tasks almost flawlessly. The first task to getting the player invested is to make them feel an emotional connection to the only two things that are close to being considered characters in this game: flower petals and the wind. Obviously, wind on its own is invisible, and it is near impossible to control an invisible force. Instead, you pick up individual flower petals as you move along, adding vibrancy, character, and form to your force of wind. You feel a slight rumble in the controller when you pick up a petal along with a quick musical chime. Sometimes a gust of wind will even blow through the controller instead of just the TV. Your actions feel responsive. On top of that is the great decision that game company made to have the wind not controlled by the analog stick, but by tilting the PlayStation controller the desire you want to go. Now you're not just watching wind roll up and over hills and making smooth turns through the tall grass, you are participating in that action. Your hands are actively part of that movement, bringing you closer to the sense of beauty and calm. You become personally invested and begin to feel that you are the wind. All these elements make for a lovely level or tech demo, but they alone do not make an entire game. One thing I did not expect from Flower on that fateful day at the art museum is that Flower would tell an emotionally deep story, entirely without words. The game first opens with a dark and industrial city, then zooms into a flower in a flower pot on someone's windowsill. The city fades away as we move to a bright and calm field with a flower, immediately providing a sense of relief. Once the flower petal blows away, the player takes control of the wind and the rest of the story is unveiled. The way they accomplish this is by first getting the player invested into the sense of movement and feedback from gathering the flowers. There are also subtle clues to the player that teach them how to play the game that also subconsciously begin to tell a story. Passing through all the flowers in a spot with dead grass brings it back to life. As a player, you pick up on the fact that this is something good to do to make the whole field bright and thriving again. Story-wise, you are learning that the wind brings life and feels like magic. It takes something good and makes it even better. Each level of the game introduces a new element. Level 2 begins with a lot less color that must be revived back. There are also rock circles that don't appear to be entirely natural, unlike the first level where everything seemed to be completely untouched nature just thriving. While this level is still based in nature, it isn't the perfect paradise of the first level, though still beautiful, and it also appears like someone's lived there, even if it was a long time ago. When you enter the third level, you're immediately greeted again with bright green grass and colorful flowers amidst a cloudy sky and wind turbines. The wind turbines are the first piece of modern technology we get to see. This land is still mostly untouched by humans, though we can obviously see for sure that they've been here. However, while the wind turbines might feel a little bit jarring at first, they complement the level. The wind is far more intense in this level as it often picks up speed, swiftly flowing through the surroundings but never destroying. Eventually, you're sent sprawling into a cavern as an unstoppable, colorful force. Even when rocks crumble, you fly past. It's exhilarating. Finally, you open up into a large, peaceful plain with a setting sun and lots of wind turbines. Picking up the flowers in between them allows you to finally enter the next level, and you feel a sense of rest. The next level flows from the setting of the sun into the night, in what appears to be a farm. Once again, there appears to be harmony between the unseen humans and the land. While it is no longer untouched, it is lit with magical blue light. The wind dances around hay bales and through fences. When you move through the grass, modern lampposts light up as the electricity is brought through them. It almost feels like a secret. The humans have no idea what magic the wind brings when they're asleep and no longer looking. As you light up the final field, peaceful music continues to play. The lights of the lampposts begin to light up. Then, everything goes completely silent for a moment, and there's a spark and a burnout, and everything goes dark. The piano plays a deep note followed by an unnatural echoing sounds. You follow along and you're surrounded by corruption, flickering streetlights and littered industrial metal scraps. The ominous sounds continue as the camera pans up to a thunderstorm and intimidating tall metal towers as you finish the level. Something isn't right. This feels so wrong, so unnatural. The next level starts even more bleak. You can hear the rain, but no music plays. The only notes come from picking up individual flowers still in the field. These metal towers and scraps litter the ground, often coursing with the electricity. If you accidentally touch one of these, there's a loud crackling shock that comes both through the TV and the PlayStation controller. You see smoke as some of your petals are burned away. Is this what happens? Is this what we did? This land was so peaceful, so serene. Now it's littered and corrupted. Even the wind is beat up in its path. However, the wind persists and slowly restores the metal scraps so that they no longer burn and shock the path it covers. Slowly, music begins to play again. Flute, piano notes. It's soft and somber, but it's there. Your muted purple petals begin to build up and bring some color to the dark surrounding. Nature is rebuilding what was destroyed. There's obstacles to overcome, though, as you go through another canyon and see just how devastated it looks, how dangerous it still is. Metal begins to crash all around, and new metal spokes seem to jut out from nowhere. It feels suffocating, and you can't help but begin to ask questions. Is this all hopeless? Will it ever be completely possible to go back to the untouched landscapes of the first few levels? Is this irreversible? Would it be better for all the unseen humans and all the technology to just go away? Finally, you begin the final level of the game, and hope begins anew. The wind and nature grow strong and burst out of the darkness into light. The wind gains strength to break through and destroy the corruption that plagues the land. But as it does, something beautiful begins to happen. The land doesn't go back to the way it was. Instead, a new place is built. A city with buildings and streetlights, a city with parks and playgrounds and grass and colorful buildings. The music is the most upbeat it's been this whole game. A new harmony is made where people and technology can coexist with nature and the harmful parts of it are purged. There's restoration, and technology continues to advance. You're sent spiraling joyously over rooftops and onto a large city road that leads you to a massive center of corruption. You begin to burst through it and destroy it with all of your light, bringing the last of the city together the way it should be. It's powerful, it's exhilarating. Then a large cherry blossom tree blooms from the center of the city. Harmony has been achieved, and we go back to where we started, as a single flower on a windowsill in a big city. I know my quick narration doesn't do this game justice, but I wanted to at least break some of it down in case you've never been able to play this game before. But every moment of this story was deliberate. Its redemption and restoration arc moved me to tears, no exaggeration. It also didn't say that humans or technology was bad, but rather to find ways to use them in harmony instead of hurting nature and therefore also ourselves. I felt a whole range of emotions in a game with no words, no instructions, and that only lasted an hour long. It made me stop, think, and reflect. It was beautiful and told me something about the world. Very few games can do that, and can do it so masterfully. This game does everything it needs to, and doesn't outstay its welcome. To me, it's perfect. It's Flower. Just like this game, may we also look to new beginnings with 2020 coming to a close. I hope everyone is staying safe and well. I'm looking forward to what 2021 brings. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to support the making of these videos, please feel free to visit my Patreon link in the description. And I hope you have a lovely day. Oh, also, the credits in this game are another playable level, and it's so creative, and I adore it. Like, just go through the flowers, and you get the name credits. It's so good!